thewellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives. This is Up for a Chat with Cindy O'Meara, Karen Smith, and Kim Morrison.
Here we are, up for a chat about the hottest topics that are important to you, inspiring you to awaken the change within. I'm Karen Smith.
I'm Kim Morrison.
You're back! You're back! You're such a tart.
And I'm Cindy O'Meara.
I'm back! So before the podcast, the rock star here saying, come on, let's do a podcast on coming back together, and we've had our break, we had a lovely break over Christmas. Let's just chat, let's just talk about where we've been and what we've been doing. Kim and I look at each other and go, yeah, no, we've been working. So, in actual point of fact, this podcast is about Cindy's break and the lovely time that she's been having as a rock star.
I just want you to know that this is the first time I've ever taken 4 weeks off.
Yeah.
And I took it off Facebook.
You did, hey? You were off everything.
I didn't. And if anybody saw Changing Habits, that was my team.
Moderators.
Yeah, all my moderators and everyone doing Changing Habits for me. I would occasionally look through Facebook and do a like here or there or make a few comments, but I probably went on Facebook once a week, maybe once every couple of weeks. So I've had 4 weeks of just being with my family.
Oh.
Yeah, and even I haven't seen you, Karen.
No, I feel like I haven't seen you for a year.
No, and I haven't seen Kim either.
Oh, I can see the pain in your face. See, listeners, Kim and Cindy are like besties.
Every time I'd ring her, she'd say, I'm sorry, I'm going away again. I'd go, oh, it's okay. It's okay. Well, what about next weekend? Oh, I'm sorry, I'll be away too. I'd go, oh, okay, don't worry. No, I'm really busy anyway. It's okay.
I think she's having a dig.
You know what? I hadn't seen anyone. I haven't seen anyone.
What did you do? What?
Well, I had Casey come home and Franz come home. And so in my house, I have 7 adults living for 4 weeks. So all the kids were home, but they're all adults, of course. And
you must have loved that.
I did. I was like, it's like your friends have come home, your really good friends have come home, and you've only got a short amount of time with them, and so you spend as much time as you can. Like, I wouldn't do anything until Casey went. I just decided that I wasn't going to do anything. Not all my children are equal, but it's just that she's the furthest away, and so I just kind of enjoyed them.
Howie and Danny would get together for a run. I'd go, oh, is Cindy going to come? And Danny and I'd look at each other and go, Casey's home. It's okay.
So for me, it's just been, and I really needed it. I realised after how many years I'd been doing this that I just needed to be away. And you know what? I was ready to come back, and then I came back, and it was like just so much to do. But anyway, it'll happen, and I'm just going to relax about it and just go, well, I can only do what I can do. I have a list a mile long. And tomorrow I have a huge meeting coming up where we're creating a new program in Changing Habits, an education program.
Oh, awesome.
So, only the Up for Chat people will ever know this, because we probably won't announce it to the world until...
You just did.
Yeah, I know, but it won't be June. It'll be June, July, maybe
Can't
even
wait.
August. Yeah, it'll be really good.
How exciting.
Yeah, so that's starting. And, yeah, the one thing I did do that I just... You know what? I really got a lot out of it, and I will go again next year. And I went to a festival, and it was called the Uplift Festival in Byron Bay. And what I loved about it was... The first morning, so it was a 4-day event, and the very first morning, all the speakers got up on the stage, and we gave an intention of what this was all about. What was the Uplift Festival going to be about? And so up on the stage were, and I don't remember everybody's name, but up on the stage were people like Eben Alexander, Anita Moorjani, Dr. Bruce Lipton, all these sages out of India. I was in awe that I was there. And you know what was really funny? One of the people who wasn't up on the stage was sitting next to me. And he was one of the speakers that I knew. And he was like my rock star, like... If you can imagine that you love a music rock star, and to be sitting beside them, you just get all nervous and tongue-tied. Yeah. Well, he was sitting beside me, Jeffrey Smith, who wrote the book Genetic Roulette, I think it was, or he writes about genetic modification. And I think I texted you, didn't I?
You did.
You're not going to believe who's beside me.
And I didn't know who it was.
Who Who's that?
And I was going, oh my God, that's so exciting. Oh my God. And who is it?
But you know, the most exciting thing is that he was just walking around the festival by himself, and so I just kind of cruised up to him and just
She attached himself.
to him. And I just said to him that I really appreciated all the work he did on genetic modification, and that I'd read all his work and listened to his podcasts, and could I have a photo?
You finally got a photo.
I did it, Kim.
I'm so impressed.
I did it. Because Kim always says, did you get a photo? I go, oh no, I forgot.
Oh,
you know?
love.
Yeah, I forgot.
Instagram it.
But I went to listen to him and to Bruce Lipton. They were my absolute people that I went to listen to. But who surprised me was a lady by the name of Anita Morjani. And of course, these girls have got the book.
It was our gift.
I bought them a book each.
We bought her wasabi. She bought us a book.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I know. You did buy me wasabi.
She knows she has to pay for it.
Oh, you have to pay for your wasabi.
You don't have to pay for your books. They're my gift.
Oh. Okay.
But then I didn't give you a Christmas present, so it's your Christmas present.
Oh, and it was my Christmas
There you
present
go.
too.
Okay, fair enough. Cool.
Need your Christmas present.
Ooh. Oh, goody goody. So I'll pay for the wasabi. Anyway, Anita Morjani, I was mesmerised by her. She spoke for an hour and a half, and in a way I felt like she was holding court. There was probably 500 people in the room, and she was holding court. And this is a woman that lived in fear of everything. She lived in fear of cancer. She lived in fear of not being good enough. She lived in fear of letting everybody down. Her whole life was
Doesn't
about
that sound
this.
like the human race?
It does.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does.
Yeah.
And that's why I think she really was somebody that everybody could relate to. But Anita, she was born an Indian in Hong Kong. So Indian parents living in Hong Kong, Hindu religion, went to a British school. She never felt that she fitted in at any stage in her life. And her parents decided to do an arranged marriage. And with this arranged marriage, she decided 2 days before the marriage she wasn't going to do it. So she ran away and disappointed her father forever, basically. And her father died disappointed in her, and she knew that. And anyway, her father said, you will never marry an Indian, you'll never marry a Hindu, you've disgraced our family. And in the end, she does marry a beautiful man by the name of Danny, and he is an Indian. And then they get married, and she gets cancer. But her father has passed away, and so has one of her girlfriends passed away from cancer. And so when she gets cancer, and she gets, I think it's lymphoma, or I can't remember the exact cancer, but a pretty radical cancer, one that will travel fast. And she basically 4 years fights it, and then goes into a coma. And she's in the hospital, and the doctors are saying all her organs have shut down. She's on her last legs. This is end-of-life care. You better tell everybody to come. It's end-of-life care, and she won't live through the night. She stays in a coma for 30 hours and then wakes at the end of 30 hours. But what happens in that 30 hours is that she can relay everything that happened to her from the time she went into the coma, what doctors greeted her at the hospital, what nurses looked after her. She can relate everything to them, what happened to her in that 30 hours, even though she was in a coma. She also says that she feels this amazing love because she's left her body, basically, and she can feel this amazing love. And she speaks, but she says not actually speaks, but she actually is with her father and her friend that has died. And she also sees her life. She sees her life from the beginning to the end, her before lives and her future lives. And she says it's like a tapestry. And she says she's just this tiny thread in this tapestry. And she realises that if her thread in that tapestry is not in there, then the tapestry wouldn't be complete.
Oh, wow.
And she realises the importance of her life. Oh. No matter how small that thread is, she realises the importance of her life. But one of the things her father says to her, without saying it, it's really funny the way she says it in her book, is that he says, your time is not up. You must go back. You have things to teach. And she wakes up and she slowly starts to tell everybody what's been happening to her in that 30-hour period. In 5 weeks, she leaves the hospital, tumour, cancer, free.
Wow.
In 5 weeks.
In 5 weeks. She walks out of the hospital without a tumour, without any cancer. They
It
did
says
tests.
here, upon her regaining consciousness, Anita found out that her condition had improved so rapidly that she was released from hospital within weeks. Was that the
5 weeks.
Without a trace of cancer in her body.
Without a trace of cancer in her body.
And do they have any... are they ascribing that to anything in particular?
No, they have no idea.
Just a mystery.
It was just a mystery. And what was interesting is that they kept doing tests. They gave her chemo in the first week. And she said, I don't want it anymore. I know I'll be fine. They kept testing her, and the tumours kept getting smaller and smaller. And there are people that travel to Hong Kong to see the miracle of what happened and to look at all of her records, because it's all recorded. But what's interesting is that she started to write herself about it, and people would ask her to talk about her story. And one day she did a radio interview, and somebody heard it, gave it to Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer heard it. Wayne Dyer rang Hay House and said, you need to get this girl to write a book. So this book has only been out since 2012, and that happened to her in 2006. Or 2013, sorry, I think it's 2013. I'm pretty sure it's 2013. So the book's only just come out. But what's interesting is that she learnt lessons. And for me, they were huge. Because one of the lessons she learned is that she said to live your life fearlessly. Because, and you know, when she said it, I went, I live my life fearlessly. But you know what? Since I've heard her say that, I actually look at all the things that I actually fear. Like the other day, Casey took me out in huge waves in the surf. And I got halfway out and I said, honey, I got to turn back. I can't do this. This is frightening to me. So I was in fear. But she went out, you know, Casey and Tanya are out there and surfing these things. And yes, we do fear. I had a chance to fly in a plane, and it was called a something baby, and it was an open cockpit plane.
Like a tiger moth.
Like a tiger moth, but not the second one on top. You are basically, you know, you're just out there. And I said to the guy, I said, because I wasn't going up. I was the last one to go up, and there were 7 before me, and I kept going, no, I'm okay. And then I kept hearing Anita, live your life fearlessly. Oh, gosh, all right, I'll live my life fearlessly. So I get up, and I say to the pilot, I said, I just want a joy flight. None of that acrobatic stuff. I don't want any of that. Just a joy flight. So what is so funny is he gets up there and he just does these tiny little turns. And I'm just looking down and I'm loving every minute, but thinking to myself, this is a little bit boring. Really? Really, but he's doing the turn and he gets greater on the turn. Then he starts on the acrobats. And I'm like suspended, like I have no weight left. And I had to close my eyes at one point because I had no idea which was up and which was down, and I was like going, oh my gosh, what's he done? And then, you know, he got down on the ground and he said, you look so cool and calm through the whole thing. You didn't look like you were... And I kept saying, live fearlessly, live fearlessly, live fearlessly.
And ask for the toilet and a clean pair of pants when she got off the plane.
But you know, that was the one thing that I really, every single day of my life since I've heard her, I look at what I'm fearful of. And it's amazing. You don't realise.
What are you scared of, Kaz?
Me?
Being blown up in Bali?
No.
Oh.
Do you?
No, actually, no.
You wouldn't have fear anymore.
No. Somebody made a comment to me actually over the Christmas break. We were, what were we doing? We were in the swimming pool. And the creepy crawly thing, they didn't like the creepy crawly thing. It was one of my girlfriend's friends. And the hose had come off the creepy crawly, and the thing's just thumping in the water. And the hose is thumping in the water, and the creepy crawly's got this big, you know, spidery type base on it. And we had to put the hose back into the creepy crawly so that it didn't, you know, suck air or do whatever it does. Anyway, and my girlfriend's going, Karen, you have to do it, you have to do it, you have to do it. I said, no, you're standing right there, you just do it. No, I'm scared of it, I don't like it. And I said, what's wrong with you? It's a piece of plastic. Yes, it's thumping in the water like, you know, something nasty, but just do it. She said, no, come on, you can do it. You've been blown up, you can do it.
How funny.
Too funny. And actually, after that conversation...
We'll have to remember that line. Next time we want her to remove a spider or something.
yeah.
Hang on a minute, you've been blowing up.
You can remove that snake or that spider.
Yeah, no, forget about it.
Yeah.
Snakes and spiders, forget about it.
But people do live their life in fear. They're paralysed by fear.
Totally.
And she was paralysed by fear. She
Do you think we all
realised-
are to a degree?
Totally. And that's why she came back. She believes that she has to teach people to live fearlessly. That was one of the
never
lessons.
thought about it.
Neither have I, until she said it. And that was one of her lessons, was to live fearlessly. And how many of us do live in fear of losing our money or not making enough money or having a child hurt or sick or, we're always living in some sort of fear. And she said what happened to her is that everything she did was out of fear rather than out of,
joy.
This is what I want to do and I'm going to do it out of joy and that's what I feel like doing. Or purpose. And she even did everything for a cancer treatment out of fear, not out of, okay, this is the way I'm going to live my life. And she believes that so many of us live in fear, but she said if you realise what we are capable of and what is there after death, and even what this life is all about, that you will live your life without fear and do things. We're going to be talking in the next couple of weeks to the beautiful Shani and Julius. And I actually believe that they live their life fearlessly. They take leaps of faith and they do things. And I implore everybody to listen to that session that we do with them, because I know it's going to be an amazing one. But yeah, that's one thing I think, is if we live fearlessly, we don't procrastinate. Because you procrastinate because you think, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if I can't do this? What if a giant monster eats me up before I even finish? It's just crazy, isn't it?
Or what if we fail?
What if we fail? That's a fear of failure. We won't do that because I'm going to fail. Do you have a fear, Kimmy? Do you have any fears?
Other than snakes, spiders, and the usual things that every human being should fear.
And if you didn't have that, we've now planted it with a hypnotic thing in behind the back of this, so now you will.
I think some fear is good. Like, I think, don't jump off a cliff.
Yeah, discernment. Discernment.
Yeah,
well, that's what I was going to say, because while we were away, we were on Stradbroke Island, and my son, the fires were there, although we were in a pocket in a bubble, and you wouldn't have even known these bushfires were happening. Oh, wow. So I wasn't frightened of that, because I didn't see any of it. I heard about it, and I saw hundreds of firefighters arriving, and I just kept thinking, first of all, hunks, but secondly,
bring the fire closer.
But more importantly, I just really honoured and admired these people for what they were doing. I didn't see any of the drama, so I had no connection to it. But what was interesting, my girlfriend Sarah and I, she's got a boy the same age as Jacob, they wanted to jump off the rocks, off the cliffs, into the thing. And
into the monster pit,
into the ocean,
The monster pit.
Like,
I love the way you said that.
These kids are all climbing up the rock face, and then they jump. Now I look at my son doing that, and I have, I think, a typical mother reaction of, right, I don't really want him doing it, if I was really honest. But then I go in my head, why? Everyone else is doing it. They're all jumping off. Why not? So I just let it go. And I trust, and this is the talk that I have in my head whenever things like this happen, if my son was to be injured doing that, then that was meant to be. And I know that sounds terrible, but I just have to say to myself, if it's meant to be, it'll be. And if not, it won't be. Like, I just have to rationalise it. Whereas Sarah went into, Benjamin, I don't want you doing that. I don't want you going off the rock. She actually, like, when I really looked at it, she was quite fearful, which then made me a bit more fearful. But I didn't say anything because I thought, well, she's been fearful for the two of us, so I don't have to be fearful. So, and in a way, her putting her foot down with Benjamin not jumping off the cliff kind of took me off the hook. Oh, sorry, I'd let you, but Sarah won't. But anyway, they were doing it, and I just watched the way the two of us were mothering in that moment, and I didn't have the same fears Sarah did, because I figured if no other kid was doing it and I couldn't see anyone else jumping off the cliff, I probably would have said no. But the fact that there were kids jumping left, right and centre, I kind of figured they must know. But the terrible part where we were standing on the beach, you would see them jump, then you couldn't see them hit the water. So it actually looked like they were jumping onto rocks. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it made it even a little bit... And so I started doing my thing of CAS, of perception. You know, like, what is our perception of this? My perception is he's going to jump right into rocks. And so I was doing this whole conversation around my fear of him jumping off a cliff. And you know what? Those two had the time of their lives, giggling, laughing. They'd get off and they'd go, let's do it again. And I was watching these two free-spirited boys living the dream, doing what boys do. And it brought up, so it's interesting we're talking about fear because it really, I didn't even discuss it with anyone else. And then I said to Danny, this is your job. This is a boy job. Is he okay jumping off the cliff? And Dan's going, yeah. And so the minute he did that, yeah, it's fine. My only concern is that teenage boys often don't have that fear.
Yeah, they're
thing.
fearless. Yeah.
Because how's this? On the news yesterday morning, a young teenage boy died jumping off cliff, off river, off...
He was one of Casey's friends.
Was it? I heard it on the news, and it took me back to Stradbroke Island going, oh my gosh.
I'm pretty sure that if this is the 22-year-old...
Northern New South Wales, it happened.
Yeah.
Jumped off a cliff and went into the water and never came up, and they found him hours later. Sadly, he
that's
passed
devastating.
away. So I think...
He was a Sunshine Coast boy. Well, he worked at Raw Energy. At least that's what I'd heard, yeah.
Okay, well, so sad.
I know.
But a part of me thought, see, that's every mother's, parents' fear, is to have that news. So do we stop everyone jumping off cliffs because of that fear of... I'm standing here and I don't know the parents of that boy, and if it was my boy, I'd be, like, devastated, of course. So I'm not trying to say that it's right or wrong to have those fears, but I'm interested to know from your perspective... healthy fear as opposed to everyday living.
Yeah, I think there is a healthy fear of, you know, don't cross the road when a truck's coming at 120 kilometres, you know, for you. There is that healthy fear, but what we're talking about is that people are paralysed by fear of what if, rather than, you know, doing what they need to do. And, like, you know, I know somebody especially, she's in... totally fearful of what's happening to her life next because it's all new to her, and that fear paralyzes and scares, and you analyze and you go through all of it. And Anita basically says, live a fearless life. Don't be afraid of dying. Don't be afraid of cancer. Don't be afraid of heart disease. Don't do things out of fear. Do things because it brings you joy. And this is what you want to do, or it makes you feel good. Such as, you know, a lot of people may do a diet because they're fearful of cancer, and so they won't eat that. And she actually really calmed me down about things because, you know, I'm always talking about chemicals, and I'm talking about food additives, and I'm talking about this, and I'm talking about that. And while she said, you know, these are all important, don't be fearful of them. You know, don't have this fear about genetic modification. Don't use it, but don't have... We seem to fear so much.
Well, it's a bit
becomes consuming.
It does.
becomes all-consuming, and that's
I put a post on Facebook the other day. I was rushing Danny down to the airport, and I didn't want to buy any garbage food on the way down, and it was 6:30 in the morning, and he's going, we're going to leave in 2 minutes. And my husband really does leave in 2 minutes.
Yes.
And I've gone, 2 minutes. What can I make healthy in 2 minutes? So I got out a can of coconut milk, 2 tablespoons of chia seeds, frozen raspberries, mixed it all together, got my spoon and jumped in the car. And I knew within 10-15 minutes the raspberries would have defrosted, the chia seeds would have soaked in, and I'd have a nice cold, healthy breakfast. Oh, and I took a handful of almonds and cashews to chuck on the top. So I put that up on Facebook. This is a quick on-the-go breakfast, and everyone was going, oh, thanks, oh, yeah, and they all had modifications and all that sort of thing. And one lady put a post up and said, so do you drink canned foods? Or do you eat canned foods? There's a lot of lead in canned food. Yeah. And I thought about that, and I sat there and I thought, God, you know what? I didn't even think lead when I opened that can of coconut milk. I was rapt that the Iams can of coconut milk that I use has got absolutely no chemicals or additives. I hadn't even given it a thought to the lead. But it brought up the thing, and I went back and I said, look, to be honest with you...
Just one sec about the lead. I thought cans were made from aluminium.
Well, then, and I thought it was more harmful that coating that they put on the inside. I thought the plastic
coating would be more the problem. There's no lead in
She was talking about lead, and so I kind of sat there and I went back saying, look, I need to research this, but
Me too.
I'm more fearful.
Cindy's onto it.
I'm onto it. I would be more concerned about the lead in lipsticks and the lead in makeup. And
Here we go.
Yeah. So right.
Or the mercury in fish.
Yeah, but exactly.
Yeah.
And my point is, and I went back. My answer is, and it's on Facebook or Instagram, whichever one I answered it on, was I totally believe that what I did was the best healthy meal I could grab within 2 minutes to be on the road. That I wouldn't buy crap and I wouldn't spend money without having to spend a fortune getting something I wanted. I went in with that intention, and I believe my body's healthy enough to assimilate and eliminate any traces of lead because of how well I treat it. You know, that's how I feel. So the same thing is around, like, okay, so I still love granola. I love the smell of granola. Highly chemical, hardly use it.
What's granola?
Oh, what is granola? You know, like
Granola.
What's
White King, you call it here, isn't it?
Oh, White King.
Bleach.
Bleach. I love the smell of it.
Oh, my
right?
gosh.
Yeah, it must be a
Are you
childhood thing.
serious?
Yeah, but every now and again I'll just put it down the drain hole just so I can smell it.
Mind you, I do love the smell of petrol and glue.
Same. See, now these are bad. Now I reckon there's more harm snorting, sniffing petrol, glue, and granola than.
And I also
maybe-
love to eat the red tips off matches.
Oh my gosh!
What do you like to do?
The red tips off matches.
Oh, my God.
Don't do it now. Did it when I was younger.
How funny.
She's twitching.
Twitching badly. Watch it now.
But it's interesting, isn't it? This conversation where you can see how we as human beings can all of a sudden, and I can see why people get so overwhelmed with information or knowledge or lack of knowledge, and you become fearful of living.
Do you know, Cindy, you made a really awesome point where you said that she, Anita Morjani talks about not living a fearful life and not being concerned about what if. And I just thought to myself, isn't that a beautiful thing to say? Don't live based on what if, live based on what is.
Yeah.
Because what's in front of us in this moment is an opportunity to have fun jumping off a cliff. And what's in front of us in this moment is to enjoy a beautiful soup or to enjoy chia seed, whatever. Instead of living what if, live with what is. And I'm a huge believer in the way that we think creates what occurs in the body, which then collectively creates what occurs in the next moment. I always say that the present is present. So if what we're doing in the moment is worrying about what if, then you have to really question what we're presending. And at the same time, if you fall in love with what is and you be with what is, and you just cool and chilled out with what is, then what you're presending is more of
How
the
do you live
magnificence.
that with bad news?
She talks about this.
And what does she say?
She basically says that she doesn't get attached to somebody dying at all because she knows what's on the other side. And she knows that she'll see them again. And for them, it's a blink of an eye. To her, it might be 40 years. But she actually doesn't get attached to... And death is probably one of the hardest things to come to grips with, is because...
For those of us left behind.
Yeah, for those that are left behind. But she just said, I just don't get attached to what's happening. She also says that she's, even an ant is precious to her. She's really become amazing. Yeah, it's so funny because I had this, because of her.
I just sprayed a whole lot of them.
Oh, did you?
Love.
Because of her, there was this tiny
Eucalyptus,
little...
drowned in eucalyptus. I poured eucalyptus all over this ant trail.
I think we've got rain coming because there's lots of ants out at the moment.
Yeah, the ants are everywhere.
They're everywhere.
I tried to look at them with love, but I just couldn't.
Well, she has a real hard time with it now, but she's seen the other side and her vision and what she saw. The other thing she said is that no matter how insignificant you think something is or something has happened, as far as the cliff or, she says without that being there, then the tapestry won't be complete. So, I just loved her whole analogy, especially the tapestry, and she could see that she had many lives with Danny, her husband. She could see in the past her lives with Danny, and that they would continue in the future together. But she said there was a group that always continued, and this is what she saw. And she wasn't the only one there that had died. Even Alexander was also there. He wrote the book Proof of Heaven, and I bought that as well. and even Alexander.
Did we get a copy of that
No,
one?
I haven't got a copy because I did that electronically because none of their books were available. I had to ring.
I think she's making that up.
I'm just looking for the glint to see if it's a lie.
It's not a lie.
You know, when they look NLP, when they look up, is it up left? They're making that.
Right is
See,
recall, left
I
is
want you
lie.
all to listen to this. This happens to me every time I go buy them something. No, I electronically pull down Proof of Heaven. And like, here's a neurosurgeon who lives a very analytical life and gets bacterial meningitis.
Oh, wow.
And he's brain dead for 7 days. They said if he does come out of this, he will never be right. He'll probably be a vegetable. So for 7 days, he's dead, basically. His cortex has completely, they said it's completely died and there's not much we can do for him. And he wakes up perfectly normal. But what he sees is even more profound. You know, he goes really deeply into what he sees and who he sees and the colours. And, oh, my gosh, it's amazing, his book.
How does this challenge religious beliefs and people who have never been open to this way of thinking?
There's too many people that are having these near-death experiences. There's actually a whole website now, I found out, because what happened with Anita is that she didn't know anyone else had had this experience, so she started to look it up, and she actually ended up posting on a near-death experience website. So there's lots and lots of information about people who have had these, and like my uncle talked about his near-death experience. You know, I had 6 uncles with haemophilia who were always having blood transfusion and always on the brink of dying. And he said to his mother, he said, I heard the conversation that you had with the doctor. And she said, how could you have heard that conversation? We had that down the hallway, long way from you. He said, I was right there, Mum. And this was a young boy who said this. So I think that people have to really think about what religion was about. Like, look at the Catholic religion. The Catholic religion, up until the 16th century, I believe it was, actually taught reincarnation. But they don't anymore. And I don't know why. I have no idea why their teachings have changed. So, like, I after hearing so many of these and hearing my uncles talk about it, and I actually have I don't... And what my mum and my sister... You know, what they create all the time.
I had this conversation with my children the other night because they're at a school, a Christian-based school,
yeah.
and one of the boys at school told Jacob he'll go to hell.
Oh, wow.
And Jacob's just like, I mean, really?
But even the Catholic religion doesn't say there's a hell anymore. I'm pretty sure they don't. Well, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure my dad said to me they're not teaching it anymore.
Well, I don't even know what... I think it was said as a throwaway line as opposed to a
okay.
literal, but it brought up the whole conversation of heaven and hell, and I asked them both if they believed in God, and they both like, no. And I said, well, do you believe there's something greater than us? And they both sat there, and Taylor goes, listen, I'm a realist. I'm all about cause and effect. And I went, right. And she goes, well, if you do something, it's going to have... if you cause something to happen, it's going to have this effect. There is no other way of looking at it. And I went, or is that just a humanistic, Kaz's words, humanistic, Newtonian way of looking at it? And it was just an amazing dance, a conversation around their beliefs. And I wasn't trying to say to them that they were right or wrong. I was just trying to say, you know, sometimes... what if there's something bigger than this? And how do we know? And whenever I read any of a lot of people like Wayne Dyer or people like that who just who talk a lot about things being beyond even what's humanly possible of thinking, or when you go down the quantum physics route, or when you look at some of those beautiful What the Bleep movies and all of those, it has me go into a place of, actually, I know nothing. I know nothing.
But you actually do. You actually do know. You just have to be professionally reminded. We talk about that all the time. We all know.
But I'm okay with not knowing. I'm okay with not knowing what happens to me when I die, because I'm just trusting that when it happens, it'll happen when it's meant to. I said to the children, I believe I've got a certain number of days on this planet. I believe I'll go when the time's right, in whatever is seen as right. that's why I'm glad I don't know if it's tomorrow or in 40 years' time or 50 years' time. I think the important thing is that we live each day and maybe live it like it is our last. You know, what would you do if this was your last day? And Taylor's going through this at the moment with making massive decisions around school and dancing and things like that. And I said to her, honey, if you had 3 years left, what would you do? And she goes, I'd dance. And I go, well, dance. You know, like, this is my belief, and I think we've talked about this before, but I think that the day we go is predetermined. I'm not saying this is right, this is just how I feel at the moment. It's predetermined, therefore, but it's those choices that we make which will determine how we go on that day. It's, you know, it might be cancer, it might be a car accident, it might be a drowning or whatever, but the choices that lead up to that day perhaps is what creates that. I don't even know if that's right. I'm just saying that's how I kind of try and look at it without judgment, without thinking that this is the way or that is going to happen. I'd like to think that our podcast and the three of us allow each other and everyone around us to have a new, different way of looking at things, or an open way, or there's no right or wrong.
But to do things like what we were talking about before, to do them fearlessly. You know, so live your life fearlessly, not in fear of death or what might happen after death. And I was living like that. You know, I remember years and years ago, it was probably 10 years ago, you know, asking my sister, you know, well, what happens when we die? You know, do we just go to the ground? And she was the one who said to me, does it really matter? You won't know if you do go to the ground, and if you don't go to the ground, you'll be rejoicing. So it kind of, I went, you know what, I'm creating a whole story about something I have no knowledge of. And I was living in fear. And I'm really, like, since listening to Anita, I'm really trying to look at what I do fear and take it away, take the fear away, and live
thing to do.
as a result of not being in fear, but live because this is what I want to do and this is the joy I have with it, and not to be, you know, too obsessed with things. But, I have knowledge and I know what things do to us, but how do you explain a woman who wakes up and 5 weeks later has no cancer? She's completely free of cancer, yet she was they said she was on her final hours, and she ate ice cream. She ate ice cream. That was what she asked for. When they finally took the tube out and she could eat, she said to her husband, I want that ice cream at that place in Hong Kong somewhere. And he went and got it for her. So you kind of got to question, don't you? Is it what we believe? Is it what we fear? Is it all about the mind? Karen, have you got the ultimate secret to that? Is it how we control our mind?
Yes, I have
You
all
do.
the
I knew
answers.
you would.
Yes, I do.
Oh, mighty one, please share.
But, you know, like what I'm talking about is your mind, I'm food, and your physical. And I'm thinking, you know, the three of us are always talking about these three together, but is the ultimate the mind? And how we use this tool to the betterment of who we really are, and how we perceive food that we consume and what it does to our body. Because we all know that if you eat this, you get fat, and if you do this, you'll get sick.
But not everybody does get fat.
Exactly.
And not everybody does get sick.
Exactly. So I'm like looking
Danny's
at you
grandmother
now.
lived in nearly her 90s, smoked and drank all her life,
Well,
danced on tables.
We'll take a look at the three of us in terms of how differently we all eat.
Oh, yes.
That's a classic example of how there's got to be another component. I mean, because I put so much, I do a lot of research now on food because of you, Cindy, so I'm totally into it. Like, it's all I listen to when I'm running, plus our podcasts, of course. But there's also, for me, you know, there's a big component around consciousness, and there's a lot of studies being done around consciousness. And there's a study that I'm like right down the rabbit hole with, which is transpersonal psychology. And that's the psychology of awareness and consciousness outside of the human body. Because there has to be external factors that affect where we land on each day, the people that occur in our lives each day, how you find your husband, and what a coincidence it was that he just happened to be there on that day, and how you just happened to get your children. Why didn't you get somebody else's children when you gave birth? What brought your specific kids to you, and how come they were the best match for you?
Okay, what's this called?
Transpersonal psychology.
Holy dooly.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to learn more about this, I can tell.
Oh, it's really it's
Oh, this is
it's
fascinating.
really extraordinary.
Yeah.
It's really extraordinary.
What's it saying? Is
It's about the psychology beyond the human body. See, we can as humans, it's very finite. You know, if you think about us, I'm just referring to fear, and I don't want to get too technical. So, you know, stop me if I get too far.
We always love when you get technical.
Oh yeah.
Because then we've got lots of listeners listening with us asking the same question, so we'll do it on their behalf.
Yes.
Well, so there's the finite nature of the human being. And the human being is from a consciousness and awareness perspective, you know, we're only accessing between 5 and 10% of our capability and capacity from a mental point of view. But what happens is, you know, we don't utilise the brain to the extent that the brain has the capacity to. We only utilise the brain to 5 to 10%.
How do they know?
And for the most, well, it's just measures that have been done over time based on where
Activities.
Electrical activities light up when we physically perform acts. So they'll put electrodes into the brain and they'll test what lights up. They can't see what a thought looks like, but they can see an electrical current or an electrical storm taking place inside of the brain. And from there they figured that we only use a very finite part of our brain. And for the most part, this is the part that's also incredibly fascinating from a transpersonal psychology perspective, is that our mind and our brain thinks us. Thoughts, yeah, sit with that for a sec. Thoughts just appear in our mind. You right, love? Eyes have crossed.
They've crossed completely. Can you just say that one more time?
Yeah, the brain thinks us. So when you think about this, and I'll give you the contrast of that in just a second, but when you think about this for a moment, and now you're about to think the brain, because I'm giving you an instruction to think about something. But unless we've got an instruction to think about something, the brain thinks us.
Okay.
Ideas, thoughts just arrive in your head, yes or yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Unless
they just pop
They
in.
just get there. Unless you decide today is a strategy day and I have to create a presentation. That's when you'll instruct the brain to think for you. So you use the brain as a tool. So you will think the brain if you direct it. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, we don't direct the brain. The brain thinks us.
Yeah, and then it goes wild.
Totally. Stop it, I know.
Oh my god.
I know. You want to try living inside of this. It's just like...
Did you see the text I sent you?
No.
You saw it, the text I sent you.
I've got a...
There's that cartoon. There's that cartoon, 2 stick figures sitting there.
yeah.
No, I just want to say I've bought a new iPhone 5 and it is the pits.
There's this
I'll
image.
just...
But Kimmy and I have had ours for years and we're happy.
Well, I just hope Apple Mac sends me a new one.
Well, you can, but I sent this picture to you. You have to, you explain it.
No, I totally didn't get that.
Okay.
What the hell is that? Oh, just my mind. Yeah.
and it's a picture of 2 stick figures, and one of the stick figures has this amazing
Tornado
coming
out its
brain.
head.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that? It's just my mind.
It's just my mind.
See, and you think about that.
And it is spewing. It's spewing all the time.
Spewing
All the time.
everywhere.
All the time.
I lay in bed and I go, where did that come from? And this song comes into my voice and into my mind. And
And your
And sometimes you have,
inspirations.
like, it feels like hundreds of thoughts within a second. Or what about this? We was at a dinner the other night. There was no alcohol, so it's not like I can even blame the alcohol.
with champagne.
But I'm sitting there, and Russ, dear beautiful Russ, comes up with this great name for my new book. And we're like, oh, yeah, that's brilliant. Do you think either of us can remember the name of that book?
Oh, no, stop it. You'll get it.
I know,
It'll
I'm
come
not
back.
worried. I'm not living in fear that it won't come back. But I was just fascinated that in that moment it was the perfect name. But obviously it's not because it's gone. But
No, well, it probably
What
just
happened?
it's doing its work somewhere else. That's transpersonal psychology because it's come and it's gone. So you think about so here's another question to ponder is, before the thought arrived in your head, where was it?
I know.
It was somewhere before it arrived here. So where was it?
Yeah, where was it?
Yeah, well, this is...
Just like, oh, where? Yeah, where?
Okay, so this is what's called the field of pure potentiality, or scientists refer to it as the 0 point field, which is an electrodynamic field that exists around all sentient beings, and it's measurable. So the Hartmouth Institute is able to measure the electromagnetic field that exists from one body and how far that electromagnetic field reaches. So let's say I'm standing here and there's an electromagnetic field that spans 5 meters around my body. My body is emanating 5 meters. My heart is emanating 25 meters. So they can measure an electromagnetic field from my heart that goes out 25 meters. Gets a little bit technical now because it's through that mechanism that they've been led to what's called mirror neurons. And mirror neurons are neurons that exist inside of every human being's brain. I don't know if it's in animals, I'm not sure. But it's mirror neurons exist in every human being's brain. So if Kim picks up a cup, the mirror neurons in my mind make me feel like I'm doing the same thing. So the mirror neurons create like a sympathetic response to other human beings. And we pick up on those movements and emotions and feelings and facial expressions through the electromagnetic fields that are intertwining with each other. So if my heart's emanating 25 meters, I can technically feel how another person's feeling that's 25 meters away. And the mirror neurons in my brain start to fire as if I'm feeling the same thing. You know, like if you see me hurt, Cindy, you hurt too. And if I see you hurt, I can't bear it. So that is caused through mirror neurons. Because if you're feeling it, I'm feeling it on your behalf as well. It's not just empathy. So from that perspective, what exists between two human beings is this transactional psychology that has us feel each other, that has us aware of each other. You can close your eyes and you'll feel somebody walk in the room. You know that they're there. And it's an energetic exchange that's actually measurable and scientifically proved. So it's not some hairy armpit, woohoo type thing. It's an actual psychology that exists between each human. So when you think about the finite nature of the human being, it's only natural that we're going to be fearful. And the number one fear for all human beings is the fear of death. So we equate everything to dying. Going up in that plane, it's death. The fear that you're feeling, I'm going to die.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I kept saying, well, what is my fear? Well, I'm at fear of dying. Why else would you be fearful?
I think back to when I was being bullied at school, or think about people that you're intimidated by. What's your fear of them? Ultimately, it comes back, they're going to hit me, stab me, and I'm going to die. It all comes back to a fear of death. Everything comes back to a fear of death.
And yet, we're only born with two fears, the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises.
Well, isn't that
only
fascinating?
two we are born
But why are
with.
we fearful of falling?
Because I don't know if you've noticed the reflex that a child has.
Yeah, we've had this conversation.
The reflex where they pull both hands up, it's to grab onto something, because if they are falling, as apes, you would grab onto your... And so it was a fear, and it was just this reflex. It was an instinct to pull. And the fear of loud noises is that, if there's something around you, like a volcano going off or something like that, you need to run, or whatever the loud noise is.
Or a bomb.
Or a bomb, yeah, it could be a bomb, yeah. You can run. So they're the only two fears we're actually... The rest are, we were talking about snakes and spiders before. We actually learn those behaviours.
Yeah, we invented it.
We invent them.
And then I almost feel like we love the drama of those fears. It's quite cool. No, but people do.
I agree with you. I really agree with her. I just find...
I think it's fun. Like when I go, oh my God. Like I put a post on Facebook the other. I was taking a photo of a house. I was with beautiful Nikki down in Brisbane, and there's this gorgeous house, and I take a photo. And I get the picture of the house.
Beautiful.
And then the theme of the day was tiny. Because I thought, I'll take a picture of the lovely tiny gate and everything like that. And I take a picture, and then my eyes were drawn into the tiny speck in the middle of the photo. And then I looked, and there was Jurassic Park in the top left-hand corner. And I created this whole thing around Jurassic Park and spiders, and I literally had a little bit of my heart fluttered a little bit. And
even though it was just a picture?
Well, no, because I'd seen it just after I'd taken the photo now.
Oh, just after you'd taken the photo. Right. Now it's real.
Right.
Okay. I was thinking, she's scared if something an hour happened ago.
Yeah, I know, but then I'm thinking, weirdo. Where did that fear come from?
Well, we made it up. And see, that's the thing. And that's the finite nature of the human being. Because, there's the argument about the survival instinct as well. So that then, the human being will be in constant pursuit of its own survival. But do we attach fear to that? An ape doesn't necessarily attach fear to that. He'll have an adrenaline rush and he'll reach up, like you said, Cindy, he'll reach up to grab onto something.
And hang on, then, because he needs to.
But is he not going to jump from tree to tree because he might fall? Yeah. No. He's not going to do that. So he hasn't learned the same thing. So there is the finite nature of the human being, but then outside of the human being there's an infinite nature of pure potentiality. Which, scientists call the 0 point field. And they refer to the 0 point field as where all things originate and all things return.
That's where you talk about
that's
the
what
vibrational frequency.
We thought that together.
We're so intelligent.
I was actually thinking of that. I'm thinking, is that where she says, when you come in and out?
Explain that to our beautiful listeners.
Yeah, where you come in and out.
Yeah, okay. So there's a vibrational frequency that... wow.
It's hard without drawing the picture.
It is hard without drawing the picture, isn't it? Okay, so the body vibrates at a certain speed, and that's 140 million, let's say pulses every second. So it's 140 million pulses a second. Now, each pulse, when we hit the peak of the pulse, or the crescendo of the pulse, science actually loses us. So when science is measuring our bodies, and they do it using MRIs, the electromagnetic resonance imaging, and that's also how they find cancers in the body because it vibrates at a much slower speed. So if a person has cancer in a certain part of their body, they'll go and get an MRI or they'll get a PET scan, and that'll find that there'll be a solid mass in the body, and it's measured through vibrational frequency. So... the vibrational frequency, when we hit the peak of that frequency, when science is measuring the body, it actually loses us because the peak is so far beyond any measurement technology that we have that it can't find us. So science says that when we hit the peak, we've returned to the 0 point field, which science says is the point of all origination and all return, because we always come back. And then... we go back there again, and then we come back.
What made them not think that was the peak? How do they know we get lost at that point?
Because they do measure it. It's like a wave. So if you remember back to school, and you remember, although I don't know that
the bell curve.
Learned this at school. No, not the bell curve. The sound wave.
Oh, the sound wave.
So the sound wave is an up and a down, and an up and a down, and an up and a down. That's how frequency is measured as well. So each time we actually hit... well, it's not the up or the down, actually. It's crossing the line, the median line. Each time we cross the line, that's where science loses us. So, without getting too technical about it, good heavens, look at the time already. Yeah, I've just gone down a total rabbit hole. Listeners, I'm really sorry if I've lost anybody or I've gotten you confused.
But I think what we need to probably go to from there is that science doesn't know everything.
That's the point, isn't it?
It is finite.
It is finite. And you look at Ibn Alexander, you look at Anita Moorjani, there's a miracle there, and they're just two people. And what you're saying, they don't know where we go. And I think sometimes we have to realise that there is no exact science even in food, in so many things.
Totally.
But let's see the potential of what we're learning, because I love what we're learning in science. I think it's amazing. But don't rely on that to be...
It's very
Or don't
limited.
think that it's
the be-all and end-all.
Or that it is... the end.
Because here's the reality. The scientist will say that we are not aware. Now, the scientist will also say that we are not conscious. The scientist will say that we're mechanical creatures in a very mechanistic view. Yet the scientist himself knows that he's aware, but he can't measure it. Therefore, he says, I'm not aware. So just because we don't have the ability to measure something...
I see.
Do you know what I'm saying? Isn't that hysterical?
Yes,
So just because we don't have the ability to measure it doesn't mean that it's not real, because we're still very much trapped in what's referred to as the Newtonian science. And we've been following Newtonian science since God was in small pants, practically. It's just...
Well, I think it was 18... No, it was 1500 and something Newtonian. When was Newton? When did the apple... Was it the apple that fell on his head?
Yeah, something like that.
Was that 1500?
I love the way you were both looking at me for the answer. I really, really appreciated that.
Well, even Alexander said a really interesting thing when he was speaking. He said, who says the mind's in the brain?
I totally agree.
Who says the mind's in the brain?
Well, after our
I
conversation,
totally
what about
agree.
that podcast you talked about the gut?
Well, you cut the body open. Is there a mind? No.
And he says, as
That's
a
right, it's
neurosurgeon, you know, he realised after he had that near-death experience that where is the mind?
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. That's why, get this. That's why,
down the rabbit hole.
but that's why somebody can get, you think back, like, oh gosh, I get so excited. Remember the sheep that was cloned, Dolly?
Yes.
Kiwi.
Within seconds, somebody in Sweden got the same idea, somebody in New Zealand got the same idea, and somebody in Germany got the same idea. Within seconds, this idea, and it's all documented in journals. Within seconds, they all got the same idea at the same time. How is it that I can get an idea, and it comes up for me often? I'll get an idea, and it'll be an absolute cracker, perler, magnificent. Oh my God, I am the first to have ever experienced this. I Google it and there it is. And I think
I'm just going to say something there.
What?
I'm really glad a number of those ideas and thoughts don't come to my head. I would end up in a psychology ward. I'm just saying, carry on, as you were.
But that means there's got to be a mind bigger than us. There's got to be a mind outside of us that's actually orchestrating this extraordinary symphony that we call life. Otherwise, how did we come together? So that we would meet each other. Why did I meet you? Why did I meet you? Why did we meet each other? Why does podcast exist? Like, you know,
I know.
There's this amazing mind
And
outside of
when you
the
think about
finiteness.
when you think about the podcast, sorry, I've got to go
No,
here.
go.
You know, I asked you too. I said, let's do a podcast together. You know, and I was really excited about it, but we didn't know how to do it, what to do it, anything like
And
that.
why were we together that day?
I don't know. But a week later, I was in Perth, and Lawrence Tam caught up with me and said, "Oh, we really want you, Cindy, to do a podcast for the Wellness Guys." I went, "Are you serious?"
See, and people think that that's freaky.
Yeah.
What if it's actually not? What if that's happening all the time?
What if it's happening all the time and we don't even notice it? That's the other thing. There's signs
Well-
around us and things happening all the time, and we just go, "Oh, well, we don't even hook in."
Booyah. That's all I can say to that. It's a reality.
This is as mind-boggling as going, we are in the planet Earth, which is part of a galaxy, which is part of a universe, right? And we know how far away this universe is, but then I always say, okay, so what's housing that?
And what's my name?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Who am I?
But this is where I go, and then you go the other way.
And we know what an atom looks like. And an atom looks like the universe.
I know.
So are we just on an atom? And then we're an atom in a human and another human, or
yeah.
exactly. And this is even took us down this little rabbit hole. He says, well, an atom looks like the universe. Why we could be just on an atom somewhere in somebody else's body in somebody else's universe.
How would you know?
How would you know?
Well, even Jacob said that to me the other day. He goes, what makes you think we don't live in a parallel universe and someone else is living our exact life? I said, I don't think that,
Well,
Jake, but you've
do
just
you-
opened up my whole thought again.
Well, do you know that there's so much literature about that while we're existing on a physical plane, there's also another version of us existing in a spiritual plane. Esther Hicks talks about that a lot.
Well, Anina Morjani, just to add to that, Anina Morjani says there is no time when you die, and everything is happening at once, at the same time. So your past, present, and future is actually all happening together. And that's how she saw it. You know, like we see time linearly.
It's vertical, she's saying.
we see life so limited.
We
don't
do. We look at it so, and I just think if people just take her heed and realise that we are part of the tapestry and we are important no matter what you think. We are important in that tapestry, because without that thread, the tapestry is gone. And the fact that we should live fearlessly. But one of the things that I really didn't get a chance to talk to you about, and I really want to talk about, is that even Alexander talked about waves. Now you're going to love this. Sound waves. And he said that all the ancient civilizations that have created, like Ayers Rock, even though it wasn't created, but the pyramids or sacred places around the world all have the sound vibration.
Yes.
And he created this. He and this lady by the name of Karen Newell have created this amazing meditation on that
same
wave,
sound.
with Om.
Yeah.
And they talked about the significance of Om, and
Yeah, I was going to say Om is the universal sound.
I can't remember what he said, and I know
Yeah.
you'll know what it is, but I just
That sound wave is the equivalent to the sound wave of Om.
like it was fascinating.
Oh.
Now, before we do finish up, I just want to remind everybody that we've decided for the month of February, collectively, we're not going to purchase anything, are we? We're going to only do food, fuel. Remember we talked about this? Look, Karen, Karen,
This is the first time I've heard this.
We know. You were the one that suggested
you
it.
suggested February.
You were the one that we were talking about not spending something for a whole year. It was the podcast, New Year's Eve podcast.
Because we were talking about a couple that had
and
done
you
it.
went, well, actually, I'm going to take... And you also said, and for the month of February...
Cruelty-free February.
Yeah, which you've done January as well, just saying. But February was a no spend, so I have been spending up a fortune. And I said to my husband, he goes, what have you just bought? I went, honey, I can't spend anything next month, so I'm just getting it all in now.
That's not the point.
Well, that is
Not the point.
I must have missed the point.
You know what? It'll be really interesting because you don't realise, it's like eating. When you haven't got discipline with eating, you don't realise how many times you open the fridge. Because I'm back on the protocol again, and I'm on it because maybe we can discuss why I'm on it on another podcast. But and it's not a weight issue, it's more a health issue. So I'm back on the protocol, and it's habitual that you open the fridge, grab a date, open this pantry, grab some nuts, open this, do that. And
what I'm loving about you saying this is it's a constant work in progress.
It is.
You never get there.
No.
As in, I've done the 8 weeks, done, over, I can go back to how I was, or I can do what I was doing.
can't.
It's actually a constant work in progress, which is
Absolutely.
why we constantly do detoxes or protocols, or you never get there. Or each level, I think, takes you to another level, doesn't it?
It does. So I'm just going to throw everyone the challenge because
Okay.
I'm going to do it. I am actually leaving to go to America on the 26th. Thank God February's only got 28 days, or is this a leap year?
Oh,
That means 29.
is it a leap year?
I think
We got 28?
2012 was.
So I am going to America for work on the 26th, but there's no reason I have to spend.
Can't wait to see our gift.
See? I'm going to have to spend, aren't I?
I think so.
But I just think let's do this as a challenge for all of us, that we don't purchase clothes or shoes, Karen.
Oh, good grief. Okay.
Honey, you
No
brought us out.
handbags, Kimmy.
I've got enough to last a lifetime.
Okay, good. We're no handbags.
But I'm going overseas.
When?
I've got 2 weeks in February.
You can spend money on drinks, food, the essentials.
Yeah, the
No, but I'm
essentials.
going to Auckland and I'm going
But you don't need to buy anything in Auckland. There's nothing there.
Oh, it's just a tease. She's just a tease.
So you know when you said the heart radiates out 25 metres?
Well, I don't
Can
know.
you
That's just
stab
the
it
assumption.
within 2?
Yeah, I'd say go for it.
No, there's nothing for
Okay, I'm
but
on.
You, okay, so
I'm
if you
on
want,
board.
All right, you're on board?
I'm
We're doing
on board. I will do it.
Because I think it would be good to discuss it.
What can I have?
Food, fuel.
Yeah.
Like all your essentials. So if you need shampoo and
Can
conditioner,
I
then...
get my hair done? I've got to get my hair done. It needs a haircut.
Well, can you do it before February?
No, I'm booked in on the.
I don't think...
Third.
Honey,
it's
I'm just
more-
saying you set this.
Yeah, you...
Oh, I don't even remember. Where was I?
Actually, what we should do...
Obviously
is
on
get-
another planet getting it from somewhere
what
else.
It was. That's what it was.
I think we might get Luke to insert from that podcast in this moment your words.
Actually, you did, because I went, I'm going to do a year, and then you said, no, let's just do a month, and you went, I'm going to do it for February, and I went, okay, we're doing it for February. And do you know, since
And
the
you
minute...
said, it's because my birthday, everyone can buy everything for me.
Yes.
So Matt could pay for your hairdo.
Yeah, right.
No, I think hair's... Let's not... I think hair's fine. It's the
It's the luxuries,
incessant
it's the-
thing where we're buying furniture or something for the house or ourselves or our kids or a toy or it's that type of thing. But
piece of jewellery.
yeah, piece of jewellery.
Perfume,
Yep.
oils.
Yep, they're all out. Oh, Kimmy. They've got to buy food, so they've got to buy from Changing Habits. Well, we make oils essential too. We better.
They're called essential oils.
Yeah, that's true.
Go with that.
But even
Oils
books,
are an essential.
because I'm sure everybody has enough
Just
books
order
to
up
read
now.
for the month.
If February goes quiet, I'm holding you account. No.
Yeah, but hang on. People have got to be buying speakers fast track too.
Yeah, but that's not
Fast Track is in
commercialism.
March.
That's not commercialism. Commercialism is when you're buying stuff you don't need.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So, and stuff you don't need. So when you purchase something, you look at it and you go, is this a need or a want?
Okay, well, Speakers Fast Track is absolutely a need.
Yeah, exactly. And essential oils are a definite need because I need lavender and energy and vitality. You know that. Instant calm. I've got to use them all the time. Listen to us. We're trying to compromise.
No, and I have to tell you guys, Epic Entrepreneur, new event coming up in
Is
July.
it February though? Oh, it's July.
It's July. Epic Entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But that's
guys,
not,
you girls are coming.
Education is
Drop the
not
dates
part of
on
this.
there.
Education is not part of this.
Okay.
This is
Good.
bags, things you
So
want.
you're
but
talking
not
about
need.
like buying no clothes,
Stationery.
no stationery,
Yeah, because
no.
we've probably got enough of it. Watches, computers, iPhones.
So if it's someone's birthday, maybe then the challenge is you give them the gift of time, or you make them a cake, or
There
you do
you go.
something with.
Yes.
So this is the whole intention behind.
What are you
it,
trying to
I
say?
would say.
Trying to say you're going to make me a cake for my birthday?
Well, you're on the 1st of March, so I'm just saying.
1st of February.
Sorry, 1st of February. So I'm saying you're going to miss out. Bummer. Oh dear.
I actually think that people will find this hard.
I'm going to find it hard. It's good, but we also
yeah.
said that every one of our New Year's resolutions this year was about doing things that put us out of our comfort zone
And this does.
and challenge our way of thinking.
One of my things was wear shoes you wouldn't ordinarily wear, but you
In the
obviously
month of
can't do
February.
that in February.
Well, you can because you may have some in the back that you haven't worn for a while. You can bring them out.
So true.
There you go.
That's so true.
But really, we all have so much stuff.
I think the
Yeah.
whole intention
Yeah.
behind this is around over commercialism and
Yes.
over consumption and that's what a number of books are out in the market at the moment talking about is this over consumption of things.
Yeah. And let's make it that if you go to buy something, look at how much the tag is, and then get that money and put it into an account and see how much you can save in a month.
I like the idea of that.
That's a DeMartini strategy. Whenever anybody buys you a meal, you look at how much the meal is, you get that money, you put it into an account. Whenever you get 20% off something, you look at what that money is, you put it into an account, and that's your investment account. That's how he got his money. He would always buy everything at full price. No matter if someone paid for him or not, it went into that account. So, you know, if you got, you think it's great, oh my God, I got 50% off that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we flew home business class, 4 of us. We were upgraded.
Oh, you'll
That
be
would have
putting
been a
about,
lot of money to
yeah,
push
you'll be
aside.
putting aside 20 grand or more from Dubai.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, she says.
All right, so February 1st, if you're on board, go to the Facebook page and tell us you're on board with us.
Absolutely.
And you can purchase food, that's fine. It's not about food. If you cannot go to a restaurant, let's try. Let's just
Yeah.
try.
Yeah.
Let's see if
Let's
you can
see how
eat
much you save. Let's
and
see
how
what-
much you can
It's actually
save.
about thinking too, and going back to this vibrational energy, and maybe there'll be a shift and a change in the way we are with doing this anyway.
God, I hope so. I hope so. I remember when I flew in over the top of LA, I remember seeing so many homes and so much smog, and I thought to myself, you know, the overconsumption in this world is heartbreaking, and I wondered if we would ever rectify that, if we would ever find ourselves again, because I feel like we're lost in overconsumption.
Yeah.
So, it's all coming back to me.
You ready?
It's all coming back to me. I'm on.
So we went in a major or big loop on this today. We started out with you listening to Anita Morjani and around living fearlessly. I think we live out of no fear doing this month. We could do it.
We can do it. Well, yeah, there you go. You've just connected our
Yeah.
podcast beautifully.
Because you know what else, love? Oftentimes purchasing and consumption is because of the fear of loss. Get your head around that.
Is that why I always go shopping when Danny leaves?
It's probably yes. You're an emotional shopper.
Does that need another podcasting session?
This could be really interesting because I must admit I do like to buy things. I do, I do,
do I.
and it might be a pen. I might look at a pen and go, oh, I want that pen. So, and it's almost like it's a bit of an addiction.
Okay,
Correct.
let's then also add to this podcast team, listeners. Let's list everything you do buy. So for the month of February, have a little notebook and actually write. So supermarket, $400, here, did it. So that if you do buy something out of that was perhaps something that you didn't need to buy, at least now you've got it listed, and so you can actually see what you're doing. Because I think sometimes that's just, even if you put it into your iPhone, I've got a notes, we've all got note things on our page. I just would be interested, because I've got things like dance fees and school fees that come out in February, and I'm thinking, well, obviously that has to happen, but can I put things off, or can I make it can I save on different things, or tell Taylor we'll get a new leotard next month, and because if I bought it now, maybe then in 6 months I would have had to get another one, whereas I've just given myself another month. Do you know what I mean? Like, you make it do.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of the bigger picture here of how I'm trying to look at this, but for me, I'd be good writing it down, because I am someone who, you might open the fridge and need a date, I'll go and buy something and forget I bought it.
Well, even when you get your credit card.
Sorry, Danny.
Kimmy, there's lots of people like that, because you get your credit card and you go, what's that?
I know, I do.
How many people do that?
Absolutely.
What is that?
And I'm not saying I spend truckloads, but sometimes it's frivolous and wasteful.
And it is.
And it's pathetic that I do it.
And I got this from...
Feels like you're on a confession.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry, everybody.
All right, February 1st we start.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
No fear.
No fear.
No fear, we do this February 1st, no spend month.
No spend, no fear.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Bloody
Wow, that was a
fabulous.
good podcast.
That was a good potty. I love it. So we want to hear from all of you guys. Do exactly as Kim says. Go to Facebook and post your comments at allthews.facebook.com/up for a chat, and pop in your list. If you need to write lists of things that you spend your money on, like Kimmy does, make sure that goes up there, and we'll keep a track of all of
I
that.
don't think you have to put it up there.
Or you can
Just
send us a
for your
private
own-
message.
Yes, you can personally email me, kim@28.com. You and I can work together. Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you Dictions United.
It will be like AA. It will be. We might have to do this, the 12-step program, is it? 12?
Yeah.
We're going to have to do the 12-step.
I can feel it coming on already.
You've got an epic mindset. I think us epic spenders will have fun.
Epic
All right.
spenders. Oh, give me strength. So go to the
And live fearlessly.
live epically fearlessely. So the Facebook page again is allthews.facebook.com/up for a chat, or you can also make your comments on allthews.thewellnesscouch allthews.thewellnesscouch.com/up for a chat, and join us here again next week and become part of the ripple effect that's changing the world.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.